Pandora's Box. And that is by a group who call themselves Dream Aria. And first, we're going to bring on the gentleman who created the entire concept. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please welcome with us this afternoon, Don Stagg. Hello, Don.
Hi there.
How you
glad
doing?
to be on with you today. I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, so glad to have you with us, especially with some of the music you created, and to have you come in and share it, explain it, and talk to us about, the origin, how you came up with the concepts and everything. Just great to have you here with us. And Ann will be joining us in just a moment. I want to talk to her also. But first, if you would, give us a little background on the group Dream Aria and your concept with them.
Well, actually, we've been together now for 15 years, and we've got 4 CDs, and the concept behind it was about 16, 17 years ago, I thought about putting a band together that would be a rock opera band. And I hired 2 opera singers, and after a year, they decided to leave, so I put a note out on the internet looking for female lead singer, and responded to it. That's basically how it started.
Interesting. And you have spent that period of time since developing this whole concept. Tell us a little. How many albums do you have out now?
There's 4 CDs, and we're working on our 5th.
And what are the names of the 4 that are already out, so that our listeners can get more familiar with your work?
Our first CD was called In the Wake. Our second CD was Transcend. Our third was Fallen Angel. And our last CD that came out last year was called On the Other Side.
And you have a timetable about when the next album will be ready, the next CD?
No, we're taking our time on that. We're not really sure.
Understandable. I just I like to make liner notes here so that I know when to get back to people and tell them, hey, wait a minute, you get some new music coming out. We want you to come back on the show and share with us. So keep us in mind, if you would, please.
Okay, great.
Definitely.
Great.
We have a thing here on the David Bowers Awards where once you're on the show, you're part of our family. We've always got a place for you. We always want to hear your new music. We'd love to be able to follow you, stay in touch, and see how your careers and your music are progressing, where you're going. And so, like I said, you become part of our family, and we do always want to hear from you, and we always have an open door for you to come back with new music and share it with our listeners. We're going to bring in now, if we can, Ann Burstyn, the singer on the song that you just heard, and the one you're going to hear again or next in a few minutes here. Ann, come on in and say hello.
Hi. How are you?
Hi. Just fine. Glad to have you here with us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Tell us now, this had to be a little bit of a, what do I want to say, maybe not a surprise, but it might have been a little bit unexpected when Don came to you with this concept. What did you think when he hit you with it?
Well, actually, I was in a couple of cover bands at the time, and I wasn't overly happy with singing unoriginal music anymore. I wanted to get out there with something more creative, so I thought, well, I'll put an ad out for basically just singer for hire, whether it be just recording as like a one-time thing on people's CDs, or collaborating, or just putting my feelers out there to see what would happen. And lo and behold, I actually put some ad out on a musician's website, I believe. And not too long after that, Don contacted me. And he asked if I would like to hear some of his music, and he said, it's very different, very unique. And I thought, I've heard that before, but okay. And I was really excited because I right away had a very good feeling. I thought, I think this is really going to be something different. And he emailed me, I think, about 3 different tracks. And it was the other female singers were singing on the tracks, so I got a really good idea of what they were looking for. And I really did agree with him that it was something quite different and unique, and I right away was really fascinated by the music. I thought it was very, theatrical, sort of dreamlike, fantasy-like, and just different. I hadn't heard a lot of female vocalists singing along with the kind of music he was doing. So I agreed. I said, oh, hey, yeah, I'm in. And I thought, well, hopefully I can add something a little different and something good that they like. I really had no idea how I would manage because it was something so new and different for me. But,
and it is,
they brought me in. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's quite all right. I was going to say, it is.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really is. So I was definitely 100% in, and so they brought me into the studio to meet Gary, and I'm sure we'll talk about Gary some more, but he played me a couple of tracks with no vocals at that point, a few newer things, and I thought, oh, wow, this is really, really cool. And I right away had ideas for a little bit of lyric bits and pieces and also some vocal possibilities, some vocal ideas. So they asked me, well, just go upstairs. They had a little sort of a booth spot upstairs in Gary's house. They said, go up and just sing anything, just see what comes out. So I did, and they let me have free reign of my whole vocal range and all the different kinds of voices I like to use. And I thought, I'm just going to throw it out there, and then they can pick and choose what they like, or maybe they won't like any of it. But they were,
It sounds like you guys,
they were happy.
Yes, it sounds like you two guys came together, and Don's vision and your feeling about what you wanted to do, even maybe to a degree that was you didn't even know for sure what you wanted to do, but it sounds like they came together and melded very well at perhaps just the right moment. John, you had something you'd like to toss in.
Yeah, I wanted to mention, this was the first time that I got to listen to the song. David will purposely keep me from the song so he can get an honest opinion, an immediate opinion. And in listening to Pandora's Box, you stole one of the words from me, theatrical, and I really liked the concept of that. But to me, the song was kind of a meld, if you will, of the Alan Parsons Project meets the more ethereal aspects of Pink Floyd, meets some of the dream state of Jerry Rafferty, and I just was really taken with this song. I would not have guessed for a second that this was I hate to even say it in quotes. It's such an overused expression, but for lack of better words, a goth type of song. If that thought had not been put in my head, I would have just listened to this as thinking to myself, well, this is kind of something to sit back and listen to with headphones on, either enhanced or not. and enjoy. And I like the originality of it, and I really think that you and Don have done a nice job with this, and the lending of your vocals and the way that it's produced, I think it really completes the package.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. And you're right. It is definitely a meld, as you say, a melting pot, all kinds of different nuances and styles. There's some progressive rock, and there's definitely some goth. I do hear that sort of Pink Floyd. That's what I mean by the dreamy, ethereal. It's definitely in there. There's a lot of ambient stuff going on, a lot of soundscapes, a lot of different keyboard sounds. So, yeah, that's all in there for sure. And, again, they let me use different voices. So even within the one song, I was using sort of a more come hither kind of gothic vocal style, but there's like a call and answer, and in the answer part, it's more of an angelic sort of theatrical style. So sure. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with that.
And I guess I attribute this to my age, and I don't mind saying it. I have completed 68 rotations around the sun. And so I am used to a little different style of rock and roll. But,
yes.
When I think of goth, I think of, forgive me, please, I think of the parody that they did on the Big Bang Theory about goth. And, with these people that are just, I'm so down, I want to slash my wrist. And I didn't get anything like that from this music. Not at all.
No,
and
yeah. Actually, when I
That was one of the reasons that I got into this music when I ran across both groups, and Don, is the fact that it is a totally accessible music that is still goth in purity and style, but it's not a turnoff. It's not something that you have to be weird to get into. And it has a commercial appeal without being spoiled by being commercial. In other words, it's not just formula music, and at the same time, I think it really advances to a new level the genre of goth music, because it is goth rock. It is accessible. It's very musical, and brings to mind one question I just have to ask you, Ann. You touched briefly on your background. Now, are you at all classically trained?
Well, you know what? I grew up in a house where both my parents played in the symphony orchestra. They both played French horn, so all I ever heard was classical music. And I would sing along, and I would imitate all the different instruments and all the different harmonies, and then I would listen to sort of pop music and rock and so on. And I was self-taught, but when I was in my 20s, so I've been singing since I was 4 every day. That's been my thing. I've been obsessed, studying and analyzing every kind of singer and every kind of music and style and instrument. But when I was in my 20s, I thought, I better make sure that I'm not singing incorrectly. I don't want to hurt my vocal cords. I want to be able to sing forever.
Sure.
So I went and I found a fantastic teacher, and he had a style that I guess you could say it was a classical training kind of style, but really his techniques you can apply to any style, but involved in the vocal exercises, if you will. So I guess you could say that, yes, at some point I was classically trained.
Yeah, it definitely shows through. Mm-hmm. It definitely shows through. And Don, I got to get you back in here before we run out of time and have to move on. I think you found the person you needed for this project.
Most definitely.
It certainly would appear that way. And as I said, the stars were in alignment, or whatever it took, because you guys found each other at the right time. And I'm really psyched about this music, and I want you and Ann to know right now that when you get some new music coming out and you're ready to release it, I'd love to have you come back. We'll be happy to release it on the show for you, because I'm really excited about this, and the fact that it is such a what do I want to say? It's a great function of a music that is oft disregarded or even put down at times, and I think it's a great thing you're doing here.
Thank you.
I wish I don't know, we've got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left for this segment. If you would tell us about this next track we're going to play, because I know that our classical music listeners, or people with some classical training, are going to be familiar with the roots of this. It's a thing called flower duet, which is it's a famous duet for sopranos and mezzo sopranos from a writer from the 1800s, Leo Delibes, and an opera that he did. As a matter of fact, it's called Lakme. And no, I am not that brilliant. I did have to look that one up, but it was first performed in Paris back in 1883, and this is an adaptation of that famous duet, which I guess has been done by a couple other artists too. Tell us a little bit about what you've done with this and how you created it.
Well, our version of it is closer. Our version of it is closer to Yanni's version, and all we did is rock it up. We added the rock element to it, and it was actually Gary, our producer, that helped with that one.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't sure, Don, if it was your idea or Gary's or both, but I think at some point I mentioned that I really loved that piece. It was a beautiful piece, so I'm really glad that they decided to take that on, and they basically prog rocked it up, if you will. And the bonus for me is I didn't have to write any lyrics. I just had to do all my ahs, noos, and la la la. And
all you had to do was get into it,
and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.